I was forgetting in the car.
All right, good morning and Shabbat Shalom. Ma'am, I need you to have your seat. Ma'am. Find your seat, please. We're running late. We're on my time now. Shabbat Shalom and welcome. This is Hebrew Lesson 5. And we're missing a few people today. We're missing the Hams because I think they went down to Florida. We're missing Stephanie and Sophie because they are sick. Who else are we missing? Anybody else?
Alexa and Packer are sick.
Are they?
Sick. They're just not feeling great. Not fit for it.
That's sick, yeah. That's the definition of sick. Mama Bear hates to admit the cubs got sick. Yeah. You just described being sick is not feeling well. Yeah.
They're tired.
They're tired. Okay. All right.
There you go.
Well, let's open in prayer and then we'll pray for those that are not with us, those that are tired and not feeling well. Heavenly Father, thank you for your Shabbat and this beautiful morning you've given to us. Thank you for the rain that you provided on our land and just the blessing that it is. We just ask that you would rain down your spirit, your ruach, and your teaching upon us as we delve into your word and study your precepts. And Father, just conform us into the likeness of our Savior and our Messiah. And it's in his precious name we pray. Amen. All right, so we're going to start off with, our agenda today includes the alphabet, final forms again, Aleph Bet quiz. I promised you we would do 22-question quiz. And the hierarchy of the local assembly is going to be today's fundamental class. We're going to take the last 15 minutes and do that. So we're going to wrap up like an hour from now, maybe a little bit sooner if possible. But let's start with the Aleph Bet, and we always say about 5 times, every time we meet, if not more. So let's start by saying the names of the letters. Let's do that a few times through, and then I'll say the letter, you repeat the sound. All right? You ready? Aleph, Bet, Gimel,
Dalet, Hey, Vav, Zayin, Het, Tet, Yud, Kaf, Lamed, Mem, Nun, Samech, Ayin, Hey, Sadi, Kuf, Resh, Shin, Tav.
Oh, I see. There's Jonathan and Raymond and Joshua are walking in. Let's start quiet and get loud with the Aleph Bet. Are you ready? Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Vav, Zayin, Het, Tet, Yud, Kaf, Lamed, Mem, Nun, Samech, Ayin, Hey, Sadi, Kuf, Resh, Shin, Tav. All right, let's start loud, get quiet. You ready? Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Vav, Zayin,
Het, Tet, Yud, Kaf, Lamed, Mem, Nun, Samech, Ayin, Hey, Sadi, Kuf, Resh, Shin, Tav.
All right, one time without the aid, and then we'll go around the room. Ready? Let me let them get settled in here first.
We'll just let them say it.
There you go. You guys are late, so you have to say the alphabet by yourself now. Good morning, welcome.
Good morning, good morning.
How y'all doing?
Doing well, very well.
I got a haircut, looking sharp. Good. Welcome. Yeah, you guys, there's room here, there's 2 seats there, 2 seats over there. Feel free to sit anywhere. All right, we'll say it without the chart now. You ready? Aleph, Bet, Gimel,
Dalet, Hey, Vav, Zayin, Het, Tet, Yud, Kaf, Lamed, Mem, Nun, Samech, Ayin, Hey, Sadi, Kuf, Resh, Shin, Tav.
Good job. All right. Let me plug my thing back in here. Let's go around. Let's snake it around, and we'll do it a couple times. Let's start with Noah at Aleph.
I got one.
Hey.
Gimel.
There you go.
Hey.
Zion.
Ket.
There you go. Chet. Rhymes with chet. Tet.
Lamed.
Yud. Yud.
Kaf.
I'm sorry. He's up
There you
to
go.
to us.
Stacy. Samech, Ayin.
Hey.
Yep.
Sadi.
Kuf.
Tav. All right, start over.
Aleph. Hey. Gog. Hey.
I never can figure out.
Now you're the guttural one. You got the mosquito in your throat. Chet.
Cough.
Chet.
Okay.
Rhymes with chet?
Te.
Yep.
Yud. Cough.
Lamed. Lu. Sam.
Stacy.
Ayin.
There you go.
Hey. Buddy.
Ku. Resh.
And you be Tav. No. Tav. All right. Let's do flashcards real quick. And then this is where you guys dread having to get up out of your seats. Now let's do this. I'm going to say the letters and you tell me the sounds. Are you ready? Aleph, Beit, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Vav, Zayin, Chet, Tet, Yud, Kaf, Lamed, Mem, Nun, Samet, Ayin, Ayin, Pei, Sadi, Kuf, Resh, Shin, Tav, Aleph, Beit, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Vav, Zayin, Chet, Tet, Yud, Kaf, Lamed, Mem, Nun, Samet, Ayin, Pei, Sadi, Kuf, Resh, Shin, Tav. Good. All right, let's do flashcards. And then, do you guys want to play? Put up your hand if you want to play around the world. Should I even? Okay, all the kids obviously can play. Okay, I might give you a break this week. I don't know, because we got a lot to cover today. So, all right. What's this letter? Dalet.
Mem. Samet.
Wait, is this a? This is a Mem Sophit. Mem Sophit. Yeah.
Sophie. Samet. Zion. Tav. Mem. Nun. Gimel. Beit.
Yeah, this is going to make a V as in Victor.
Yud. Tet. Ayin. Sadi. Chet. Vav. Beit. Kuf. Shin. Sin. Hey. Pei. Kaf. Kaf.
Yep, this is a guttural cough, so it's not ha.
Upside down Resh.
Good job. Extra credits.
Tav. Hey. Lamed. Flashcard.
Oh, there it is. All right. There's a flashcard. Let's go a little faster, and I'm going to throw in some final forms as well. And just stick these in places. Shove them in there somewhere. All right. Help me, Lord. All right, you ready?
Dalet.
Yep.
Mem Sophie. Dalet Sophie. Oh shoot, no. Cough Sophie.
That is a cough Sophie, yeah.
Dang it. Cough Sophie.
Help me, Lord.
Cough Sophie.
Cough Sophie.
Fei Sophie. Samet.
Yeah, that would be a sonnet.
Zion. Tav. Mem. Sadi Sophie. Nun Sophie. Nun. Gimel. Beit. Yud. Tet. Ayin. Sadi. Tet. Beit. Kuf. Shin. Sin. Hey. Hey. Kaf. Kaf. Resh. Tav. Hey. Lamed.
All right, back at the beginning.
Yep.
Good deal. You can find flashcards like this. In fact, on your phone, if you have an iPhone for sure, there is an app that I think costs $2 or $3. You can download it, and it is a flashcard app. But it also has the top 1,000 Hebrew words used in the Hebrew Bible. So that you can do flashcards through all these different Hebrew words and build out your vocabulary. But it's $2 to $3, and I use it almost every day. You just go through and just build up your vocabulary. And it goes by sets. So you got 1 through 25, then 26 through 50, and you keep going by sets of 25, and you can build up your vocabulary. And you can master those 25 and then move on to the next one. So,
What is that called?
Biblical Hebrew flashcards or something like that is what I found. It has an aleph and a beit written on a note card, like a little index card is how I
The
recognize
thing
it.
about that app, though, is like you can sound out the word in Hebrew, but then you have no idea what it means.
Yeah, there is no transliteration. Yeah, that is a downside to it.
Well, it doesn't, you don't know the translation.
You don't know the.
You do if you tap on the word.
No, really? I don't think mine shows that on the.
Okay.
The English word or the transliteration? Just what it means.
Mine shows the English.
Yeah, what it means.
Yeah. It does not have a transliteration. Yeah, so there's no way to check your translation, check your pronunciation.
It does. It does.
Okay. Yeah, just tap on the Hebrew word. It'll show. You might have a different app, or you might just be doing it wrong.
You didn't tap.
All right, and again, we have the final form letters. Oh no, you weren't supposed to see that yet. These are the final form letters. This is a Kaf Sofit, Mem Sofit, Nun. Has anyone looked up the closed Mem in Isaiah? Nobody? Oh man. Look up the. Here's the Nun Sofit. It drops down. Here's the Pei Sofit. It drops down. Here's the Sadi Sofit. It drops down. Okay. Those appear at the end of the word, and they don't change their sound, just their appearance. Right? Very good on that? We already did flashcards. Look at that. We're ahead of the game. Better not do So I've kind of revamped how I taught Hebrew, and you guys have become my guinea pigs. Normally by this time we would be 2 weeks into learning the vowel points, and I haven't taught you that for a very specific reason, because the vowel points are a fairly new invention in the Hebrew language, dating back to I think the 10th century AD. The Masoretes developed the vowel points. But before that, in all of Hebrew's existence, there was not a system of vowels. So that's why I'm trying to teach you, you're kind of my guinea pigs, to see how well it goes without any vowels whatsoever, because vowels are very much like the training wheels that you put on a bike. So I've got you riding so far without a bike, and I'm kind of holding onto the handlebars a little bit, so it wouldn't make sense that we go ahead and put training wheels on that bike. You're already kind of trucking along without that, okay? So I want to see how that goes. Maybe towards the end, if you guys are really curious, we can do the vowel points, but they become training wheels, and you get dependent on that. So we're going to try this whole thing without the vowel points and see how that goes. So let's review the words that we've covered so far. What is this word here?
Talmid.
Talmid. Okay, so we have Tav, Lamed, Mem, Yud, Dalet. So you don't have any. There would normally be little symbols under here that would represent vowel markings, Talmid. But these are all consonants. So how did you guys read that? Because you're familiar with that word, right? You know, okay, I know that we learned this a few weeks ago. It has become what we would call a sight word, where you can look at it, read it quickly, and that's how you teach children how to read, because our language is just, English is just crazy. So you have to teach kids to read by sight words more than sounding out words, like the word through. He went through the valley. Like, why do we pronounce it? Why is the G silent? All that, it's like so confusing. But if you look at it and you teach a kid to look at that word and say through, but you guys did not read that without any, you read that without any vowels, and that's because you recognize it quickly. And that's how I want you to become accustomed to the Hebrew language, is you look at something without vowels, and you can say, oh, I recognize that based on the surrounding context, that that's a Talmid. Talmid means what?
Disciple.
A disciple, a lifetime learner of a teacher. What about this word?
Betzorah.
Yeah, so we have a beit, and then you might be asking, why is it not Vesora with a V sound at the beginning? Well, because that's technically a vowel point when we put that in there. If you look at our Torah scroll, like Cottonwood First Assembly looked at it the other day, there's no vowel markings in it whatsoever. So the beit would not have the dagesh, or the dot in the middle. So we just know by context, by sight, that that's pronounced as a B, as in boy. So it goes be-so-ra, besorah, besorah. And in Hebrew, you usually will put the emphasis on the last syllable of a word. Not all the time, but usually. So you go besorah, like that, right? So you put the emphasis on the last syllable. Okay, besorah, like that. All right? What's this? Shema. Yeah. So we got Shin, Mem, Ein, Shema. And the Mem and the Shin kind of are blended together a little bit. Shema. Like that. Yo.
Teacher.
Yes.
So, the Hebrew language, is there a technique to be able to sound out a word that you have never
Is there consistency in the vowels going from word to word? To a certain extent, yes. Yeah.
Because having learned English in, late in life,
Mhm.
I felt myself just having to memorize every word because it does
Yeah.
the whole thing.
Yeah, there are no rules.
Hebrew's easier than English.
Hebrew is much easier, yeah, and it's going to be more consistent in those rules. So when you go to Israel in June, almost everything, signage-wise, newspaper-wise, the newspapers will look just like this, except very, very small. And there'll be all that with no vowels. Now there are places that have the vowels and what they call the nikud, but by and large, if you go especially to like an Orthodox community, and you look at all the signage that's hanging all over the street posts and everything else, it's going to look just like that, but a bunch of words with no vowels. And you know how to pronounce that because there's a series there's a degree of consistency when you're saying Shema or Besorah, and plus you're just familiar with the language to the point where you just look at it and you can know what, based on the context, what it's saying. So, yeah, when you go to Israel, it can be overwhelming sometimes because, especially when you're kind of familiar with Hebrew, because you're looking at signs in Israel that are in Hebrew, English, and Arabic. So your eyes they take a second longer trying to figure out which language you want to read. And they'll naturally rest on English because that's the one you're most familiar with, but when you're traveling around, it does freak you out a little bit, and you're kind of like, I can read those letters. It might take me a little bit longer to read those letters, and it takes us another second to read a street sign. I've noticed when I was there, it's like, oh, which one I read? And then I go to the English because that's just by default, that's what I go to. But like they say, people who go and are English speakers, and like my sister lived in Korea for 8 years. And then when she would come back and visit the U.S., because she was surrounded by English speakers, she wasn't able to tune them out like she was able to tune out Korean speakers. So she was just, usually the first couple of weeks, she's really overwhelmed by being in groups of people because she can hear and understand everything that's going on. Where it was, and she's in Korea, and she's fluent in Korean, but when she was in Korea, she was able to flip that switch off and not have to listen to every conversation that's going on. But you kind of experience that when you go to Israel, because you'll be able to read Hebrew when you go to Israel. What's this word?
Derek.
Derek. And what does Derek mean?
Way.
Mm-hmm. And what did this become in the first century? Yeah, what? The name of our faith, yeah. It's used 5 times in the book of Acts to describe us, the followers of Yeshua of Nazareth, the Derek, the way. Now, if I put a hey in front of it, that becomes what?
Ha-derek.
Ha-derek, okay? That's just pronounced like an H, ha-derek. That is the word the, right there. Ha-derek. Okay? Ha-derek, the way. And then, what's this?
Notzri.
Notzri. Yeah, notzri. So we got no, pizza sound, so notzri. Notzri. And what is a notzri?
A shoot.
Yeah, it could be, it shares a grammatical root with a shoot that shoots out of the ground from a dead stump or a long ways away from the original source. It could be someone who's like a watchman, a guardian. Also, it could be something like an uncut vine. So when we go to Israel, you'll see uncut vines there. We'll probably go to a grape farm in Samaria, where there'll be lots of grapevines, and you'll see notzrim, you'll see vines. Okay, that's why Yeshua says, "I am the true vine, and you are my branches. And if you abide in me, you will bear much fruit." So he's harking on that concept of being a netzer, okay, a shoot. All right. So notzrim. Now, when I put the final mem at the end, what I do is I take it and I make it plural. So now it's become what?
Notzrim.
Notzrim. And if you go to Israel today and you say Notzrim, they hear Christians or followers of Jesus of Nazareth. Okay, Notzrim. And this was another biblical name for us given in the book of Acts. I think it was used 2 times, if I'm not mistaken. No, maybe more like 3 or 4. So if I take a hey and I put it in front of it, now I got a ha notzrim, ha notzrim, the Notzrim or the Nazarenes. Okay. I taught on this about a year ago, I think it was now, that early in Jewish liturgical prayer, they realized a problem that the followers, the Notzrim, the early Christians, who were coming to the synagogues for weekly services and prayer services within the synagogue, that they were sharing the gospel within their communities in their hometown synagogues, and that was problematic for people who rejected Yeshua as being Messiah. It was considered heretical, actually. So if Jonathan came into a synagogue and I said, Yehonatan, can you please come up and lead the congregation in liturgy, in prayers this week? He would come up, and one of the prayers that is called the prayer, it's called the Amidah, and you guys are familiar with the Amidah because we say it here. We say a portion of it here. One of the prayers of the Amidah had this word woven into it in the form of a curse. So in the 1st and 2nd century, Judaism, as a reaction to the spread of the belief in Yeshua as Messiah, worked this into its liturgical prayers and said, may these people be cursed. And these people and the heretics, the menim, be cursed. So Jonathan is a follower of Yeshua. He's coming up to lead the prayers. He's going to have a hard time cursing his own people, his own followers, his own faith. So he's either going to decline leading the prayers, or he's going to skip that prayer. And either way, he is making himself conspicuous and tagging himself as one of the Notzrim. So some scholars and historians say that this addition to the liturgical prayers in the synagogue's worship service is one of the early divergences we see between Christianity and Judaism. Otherwise, they were pretty much the same thing, except one did not believe in Yeshua, one did. But then when this prayer came along and they worked that into the daily prayer service, they began to diverge a little bit. Suddenly, Jonathan couldn't show his face at the synagogue anymore, because if he did, it would be a telltale sign that he was a follower of Yeshua, which means we're going to boycott his business, which means we're going to seize his property, which means we're going to turn him over to the Romans. Emperor Nero doesn't like these guys, so we're going to get rid of him. And that's not good. So it doesn't bode well for him to come into the synagogue. So that's a little bit history lesson on that word. And you can actually see that word in some of the old Sidurs. And I've shown you guys a screenshot of one of those old Sidurs where it actually has that word in there. 3 sounds of Vav. I want to review that with you guys real quick. Start with this one right here. What sound does this Vav make? Yeah, Va as in Victor. And he's saying, oh, I got it. Oh, I got it. Ooh. Okay, let's go up here. Alright, good. Any questions on that? You guys aware of those 3 sounds that Vav can make? In some Hebrew-speaking communities, the Vav does not make a V, it makes a W sound. Like in Yemenite communities, they would say wa, like that, wa. And you might see that. It's very rare. By and large, though, in Israel, they speak a flavor of Sephardic Hebrew. So when you go to Israel, by and large, Israelis use a Sephardic mode of pronunciation of the Hebrew language. Whereas, so you have Sephardic Jews, you have Ashkenazic Jews that are going to pronounce the Tav as an S at the end of a word. So Shabbat with a Tav at the end, and I can actually just write it out.
Shabbos.
Yeah, and you can hear this sometimes. Let me see if I can dig one of these.
Shabbos.
So we have like this. Sephardic communities would pronounce this Shabbat, and by and large in Israel, Israelis would pronounce that Shabbat. However, if you go to an Ashkenazic community, they're going to say Shabbos. Shabbos. And they might say Gut, which is a German word, Gut Shabbos. So they blend German with Hebrew, and that's a language called Yiddish. Yiddish, so Gut Shabbos. You would hear that in an Ashkenazi community. And there's other, wherever Hebrew has gone, like all languages do, it synchronizes itself and blends in a little bit with the surrounding language, okay? Because Hebrew has traveled the world because the Jews have been scattered all around the world, and that language has been spoken all around the world. But by and large, we try to, I'm trying to teach you, the best of my ability, the Hebrew that's spoken in Israel. So if you go to let's say a Sephardic synagogue in Israel right now, you're going to be able to read the Hebrew like they read. Does that make sense? All right. Let's see what we got next on our agenda here. I think I wanted to give you guys time to work on these. Oh no, we're going to do a speed quiz for 3 minutes. This is your favorite part. So all you need is a piece of paper, number it 1 through 22. And if you don't know a letter, skip it and go on to the next. Okay, so hide your notes. Number it 1 through 22. And I'll be floating around making you nervous. All right, are you ready?
No.
No?
Not really.
Not really. All right, and then at the end of 3 minutes, we'll swap them and grade them. See if your neighbor can fill them in. All right, you ready?
Yep.
All right, go ahead and start.
No.
3 minutes. Need some music playing or something. Any hands? Okay, got about another minute and a half. Then we'll swap. I kind of forgot that this is time. He's turning around.
Oh, the coof.
Yeah, you got that. All right, about 30 seconds left. All right. Go ahead and swap with your neighbor. Let me give you 1 minute. Have your neighbor grade it. See if they can find any mistakes in your work. All right? Take 1 minute. How'd you do? Is this you here? Is that Frank's? Who's this? about 30 more seconds, guys, and I'll show you the answers. All right, there's the answers up there if you guys want to. Did anybody get 100% on their first try? Wow, good job. Good job. More people. So you're doing far better than you were week 1, right? When I had to write the first 10 letters, remember that? You guys practicing throughout the week and saying it a few times throughout the week? Good deal. Good job. All right. So we had a number of people. We'll do that again next week. I'll give you just a memory quiz on the 22 letters, okay? So I wanted to give you guys about 4 to 5 minutes. I think we got about 4 to 5 minutes to complete this handout. Did anyone not get the handout right here? You didn't? Okay. Oh, no. Oh, okay. She's been hoarding them for you.
Jackie wants to do several. No, she's gonna do this drawing paper.
So we're good? One more?
We're going up.
All right, I set things up a little bit different per the recommendation of my smart, beautiful wife. She said the lines were driving her crazy. So what I did is I created boxes. So you have a transliteration box, and then you have a translation box. And all the words up there in your word bank should be used, okay?
I think Anthony and Annie were in that brain trust too.
Were they? Okay. Good deal.
Too many lines.
Yeah, you're good to go. All right, let's take a few more minutes. About 45 after, we'll stop and check these. What's that? Boat. We see that. We see that in the Visham. Oti leolam. It's oats. It's a sign of the covenant. Wait, no. No, sorry. Which one? Matzah. 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 Yeah, crackers.
So are 4 related words?
No. No, not really. No, 100%. Omen and Omen, Amen are number 2. So, talk about today, how it's related. Let me see if I can go to my notes and see how the 2 are related.
I just figured because like they seem like related concepts with light, like
Yeah.
you see with light the signs.
Yeah,
see
then
shape
I
of
know.
Yeah.
It would be cool though, but I could be wrong.
I was just
Oh,
curious.
Amud for the pillar of fire that stood between the Israelites and the Egyptians. Amud shares the same root as Amid, to stand, or the Amidah is the standing verb. But that's not what I was about. All right, take about 2 more minutes, guys.
I've changed this one like 3
Translation stuff.
times.
Oh, okay. The translation stuff. So yeah, you got that.
Yeah.
Second, that's what I'm second, like I said.
Close. Yeah, they sound very similar. That's interesting. Oats.
Deacon.
How you doing? You got them all? So that means you got 2 wrong. All right, you guys are wrapping up. Let's go through the answers here in a second. See a lot of people getting the wrong translation for Shiva. Shiva. We'll talk about that. It's a tough one. Because oat sounds like oath, but an oat is not an oath.
Oh, just not.
Just because they sound the same.
Oh, Shiva.
All right, let's go through. So I think everybody's kind of at a good stopping point here. So I'm going to go from the Hebrew column. The first word is kadesh. Kadesh. You can pronounce it a number of different ways, actually, based on the vowels. Kadish, kadosh. That means holy, set apart. Holy or set apart. Okay. Like the high priest had a thing on his head that said, Kadosh la'Adonai, holy to the Lord. All right, so that's holy or set apart, Kadosh. The next word is Am. Am is people. Am is people. And then we have Chodesh. Chodesh, what's a Chodesh? It's a month. It's also the word for the moon. Okay, Chodesh. Because the biblical calendar is based on the lunar cycle of spotting the new moon. And then the next word is Shiva. Who thinks they're pretty confident what a Shiva is? What?
Well, it's an oath.
It's an oath, yeah. Shiva is also the Hebrew word for the number 7. Shiva. Shiva. Okay? So why is 7 the same word for oath? I'll let you perplex on that for a little bit. Matzah is the next word down. Matzah. Matzah is unleavened bread, like we eat during Chag HaMatzot, the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Then we have chametz. Chametz is the stuff that you're supposed to get out of your house before Passover. It's leaven. Leaven. At least we think it's leaven. We're not sure. Actually, there's a lot of debate as to what chametz is. But it's a lot of interesting debate going on there. Oat. Oat is a sign or like a wonder. Okay? That's what Isaiah 7 says, that it's a sign. A virgin will conceive. It's an oat, a miraculous sign. Yad is a hand. Yeah, yad is a hand. And then the last word is Torah, which means instruction or law or teaching. Torah. All right? So next we're getting to the part, and if you guys want any of those extra ones, I have lots of extra blank ones here. Just let me know. I'll just leave them up here and you guys can take one when we're done with class. So 1 Timothy 3 and Titus 1. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit here and go into the leadership of the local assembly. Whenever people get together, there is no such thing as a vacuum of leadership. There is always leadership. People can say, oh, this group doesn't have a leader. That's not true. There will always be a leader. The main thing is whether it's a good leader or a bad leader, an anointed leader or a not anointed leader. There will always be a leader, all right? And I've realized that in my own life sometimes too. So when we get together as believers, it's important that there's leadership. Leadership is crucial to the health of the body. Leadership, one of the major roles of leadership is conflict resolution, to be a catalyst and a springboard for conflict resolution. Because whenever more than one human gets together, there's bound to be conflict at some point.
No, there's
So,
not.
go ahead.
I said no, there's not.
What are you talking about? Yes, there is. There's bound to be some kind of conflict, right? So what leadership does is it enables that conflict to be resolved. And then the organization can move forward with its mission, right? So there are some guidelines that the Bible gives us in terms of leadership within a local assembly. And we at Dothan Messianic Fellowship, we want to do Bible things in Bible ways, right? In a very biblical way. So what we did is when we established leadership here at Dothan Messianic Fellowship, we've been a congregation for about 3 years now. We have leadership. And that leadership is articulated. That leadership is ordained. It's functioning the way it's to function. But we have to go through and figure out who's qualified to be a leader and who's not. And the Bible, fortunately, through the writings of Paul, clearly articulates who is to be a leader within the local assembly. So if you go to 1 Timothy 3 and Titus 1, those are the main verses, those are the main sections of Scripture where Paul talks about biblical leadership within a community. And there's two creatures that we see within the local assembly. There's these things called an overseer, or in the Greek, Paul uses episkopos. And you've heard this word, especially if you've gone to an Episcopalian church. Episkopos means someone who watches over, very much like a shepherd. Okay? They stand back and they watch over, and their job is to lead the sheep to places where there's food to eat and to protect the sheep. So feed and protect. Feed and protect. That's the two jobs of a shepherd, of the episkopos. Anything more than that, he's going or she's going above their pay grade, right? So the next creature that we see is this thing called a deacon. And that is a very, almost an exact transliteration from the Greek, which is diakonos. Now that is best translated as he or she who serves, a servant, okay? So we have someone like a shepherd and a servant. So the Hebrew equivalent of these words, my mother-in-law is about to walk in, gotta behave. Hello.
Straighten up.
Yeah. Welcome. So, we're just talking about biblical leadership in the assembly. We got episkopos, the Hebrew equivalent would be a zakin, one who watches over, teaches, or guards. Literally translated, a zakin is a beard. Is a beard, one who has a beard, or it's just the idea of a beard. And what does a beard symbolize? Wisdom, and it symbolizes you've been around the block a few times, really is what a beard symbolizes. And sometimes in Middle Eastern countries, you'll see people walk up to each other and they'll stroke each other's beard, especially if it's an older man. He'll, like, if I were to walk up to, I'm picking on Howard today, if I were to walk up to Howard as a younger man, I would actually rub his beard and rub it into mine. Did you ever see that in the Middle East?
Oh, it's more than that, but yeah.
Yeah, okay, so the idea is you impart your wisdom onto me. And it's just a physical thing, like I'm respecting you and I want some of your wisdom. Okay? We should start that tradition here. No, I'm just kidding. We should. Yeah, we should not do that.
The special operations guys, oftentimes they're allowed to grow beards as well, right? But whenever they have to go and mingle in the community and try to teach them something, everybody will pretty much shave off their beards except for the team leader. So that immediately when the locals see him, they'll be like, he's the leader.
Yeah, that's interesting.
They will, he's the one who approaches them.
That's interesting. Yeah, very cool. So the diakonos is a shamash in the Hebrew equivalent. A shamash is a servant, and we have a servant candle during Hanukkah. The shamash, the servant candle. It's one who serves. Okay, so we have a shepherd, a zakin, and then we have a shamash. Okay, the servant. Now we see these roles diverging in Acts chapter 6. And we see these people being, their roles and their jobs being established in Acts chapter 6 when there is the distribution of food that's happening. And the Hellenized, or the Greek-speaking Jews, are being overlooked at the distribution of the food. And then these deacons are appointed to oversee the distribution of the food to even the Hellenized Jews. And one of the guys we see emerge through this story and through this distribution is a man named Stephen, who's actually one of the very first of the deacons of the way, and he's one of the first servants. So what we see in that develop is that the elder and the deacon have different roles. The elder is in charge of feeding and protecting the flock, so disseminating information about God's word, and driving the organization forward in terms of spiritual maturity and direction. The deacon is all about serving the community in the physical realm, okay? And that's things like distributing food, distributing benevolence money, doing bookkeeping for the organization. So collecting money, counting money, and keeping track of that. Elders don't have a play in that whatsoever, really, so much. Communication with the broader community, so that we see that being the role of these deacons, okay? And so what we developed, and I actually extrapolated 22, let me write these down here. So for an elder, or a zakin, I'll write here, we see 22 qualifications. For the deacon, I'll write it in Hebrew as well. For the shamish, we see 11 qualifications. 9 of those 22 overlap. 9 overlap. All right? We're going to go through each of those and kind of break them down a little bit real fast with what time we have left. But for a zakin, there's 22. Hospitable. Okay? Hospitable. Not a recent convert. The convert should be over there. Not a recent convert. Self-controlled, and it has a good reputation. Proverbs 31. We hear a lot about the Proverbs 31 woman, but we don't hear a lot about the Proverbs 31 man. What does it say about the Proverbs 31 man? That he's known among the men at the gates. So this is a man who has a solid reputation. That he's not like, oh wow, that guy's kind of from left field, you know what I'm saying? He has a solid reputation. He's known within the community as someone who is reputable, trustworthy, and not a crazy pants. Okay?
That extends beyond the believing community, doesn't it?
Yeah, I would say absolutely. Yeah, it does. It does extend beyond the believing community within the community here. Is he able to teach? Is he able to teach? Because if you can't teach something, then do you really fully understand it? Right? Is he a man and husband of one wife? So for some reason, Paul puts the qualification as a zakin, that he has to be a male. I don't know why. And that he has to be the husband of one wife. Okay, he has to be the husband of one wife. That he's not overbearing. Not overbearing, like, why aren't you getting this, Joshua? You know, like he's patient, he's kind. He's like, you know, he's not controlled by alcohol or drunkenness. Now, alcohol or drunkenness, you can be drunk from other things. You can be drunk on video games. You can be drunk on your own pride. Drunken just means you're controlled by something that's an exterior force. Okay? You can be drunk on prescription pills. You know, you name it. There's a wide gamut of things that you could be drunk on. So when you think drunkenness, don't just think alcohol. Alcohol is definitely there, but don't think just alcohol. Okay, he's not quick-tempered. All right? He doesn't have a short fuse. How does he treat his family? You know, is he gentle with them? Is he condescending to his wife and his kids all the time? Does he have a long fuse or a short fuse? Does he love what is good? Love what is good. He's not quarrelsome. He's not out there to look for an argument, right? He's upright and not a lover of money, which, by the way, is the root of all evil, right? So he's immune to that. He's immune to that propensity to want to love money and to be sucked into doing evil, right? Speaking of elders. Welcome. Which, by the way, let me just say this, because I always say this when I talk about how DMF is led. We function with no one on payroll. And I love saying that because we're a co-op. We're a group of people who all see a need and we fill that need. Because I work for a living, I work as a school teacher, and it's like I don't have time to come here and clean and do all this and that and send out emails and do all the bookkeeping and stuff. We're very much a co-op, and I love that. Everyone has a role to fill, and we do that. But we're above, elders should be above reproach. Okay? That looks like not being alone in a room with a woman, not going out to lunch alone with another woman. That looks like setting boundaries and saying, you know what, honey, here's my phone. Let's just switch phones for the day. Anything on this phone you have free access to. There's nothing I'm trying to hide on my phone. Go through my internet search history. I am above reproach. When I lay my head down at night, I have a clear conscience. That I was a good husband, a godly husband, and I was above reproach. So that's some of the qualifications of an elder. Here, is he temperate, respectable, manages his own family, obedient children, right? Paul says if his own children don't obey him, if he can't manage his own household, how is he going to manage the assembly of God? right? How's he going to do that? Does not pursue dishonest gain. So does he cheat on his taxes and all that, right? Does he do sketchy business dealings, right? Those are things that are going to just disqualify someone as an elder. He holds to the truth. In other words, he sees the truth and he cannot be dissuaded otherwise. Is he sincere? And has he been tested? That's a big one. That's a big one. Has he been through a trial before in his life and he came out the other side okay and stronger for it? So those are the 22 qualifications of an elder within a local assembly that Paul lays out for us. Now let's talk about deacons. A deacon or a shamash shares 9 of the 22. A shamash or a deacon must not be an addict, not be greedy or dishonest gain, blameless and able to manage, manager of his children and household. Furthermore, the focus of the qualifications is the moral character of the person who is to fill the office. A deacon must be mature and above reproach as well. The main difference between an elder and a deacon is a difference of gifts and callings in the roles of each, not their character, okay? So in other words, what I'm saying is an elder is not more spiritual than a deacon, all right? An elder is not closer to God than a deacon is. It's just they have different giftings. God has gifted them in different areas of their lives, and they're walking out in those areas. Does that make sense? Okay. This is how DMF is led, and I like to walk people through this because these are our deacons here. Todd and Joanne Schwartzman, Joanne Dick, Lucy Peters, Mary Shelley, Karen Bristow. Those are men and women who are, many of whom are the founding members of Dothan Messianic Fellowship that said, hey, let's start Dothan Messianic Fellowship. And they did that. So they are the deacons and deaconesses of Dothan Messianic Fellowship. So they do things like sending out emails, bookkeeping, building, upkeep, and maintenance, helping plan events and things like that. And then the elders consist of Adrian, Bobby, and myself. So we are the people who protect and feed the sheep, protect and feed the flock, and steer the organization in the way that it should be steered, and align it with the vision that Messiah has for us. Does that make sense? That's how we're led. And I like showing that slide because sometimes people who are new to our congregation say, who do I go see about this? And who do I go see about that? And I like to kind of just throwing it up there so you know. Now, these are the people that the Shabbat before Passover will wash your feet. And we did this last year, and it was one of the most powerful and profound services that we ever had here, one of the most profound times we ever had. These are the people that will wash your feet. What do I mean by that? These are the people who are here not to lord over, but to serve. And we will literally wash your feet as a way of saying, we're not above this, and we will see these people plunging toilets and cutting the grass and everything else. I just want to share that with you guys. Do you have any questions about the leadership in a local assembly or why we run it that way? Sometimes people ask me, what do I call you? Are you rabbi? Are you pastor? And I just prefer Gabe. And I say anything other. Yeah, Brother Gabe. But no, just it's important that we have this leadership, and I think it's if you ever go to a playground during recess, which I walk by every day at my school, there's always kids out there playing, and they feel safe, and they're able to play, they're able to explore, they're able to have little pretend games and imaginary things going on. Why? Because they feel safe. Because they know there's a fence around them, and they know that there's a teacher who will knock the mess out of someone who gets over that fence, right? And go all mama bear on their kids. They feel safe, and that's the kind of concept is we at Dothan Messianic Fellowship want the congregation to feel safe as a place to grow, as a place to learn, as a place to conform your life to that of our Messiah. And there are times where we disagree, and there will be times where we're like, okay, we're gonna let you go off on that tangent for a little bit and explore that. And good luck with that. We'll be praying for you, but we disagree. And that's the beauty of having an elder and elders is that we've been around the block a few times, and we kind of have gone down some crazy tangents, and we come back from them and say, oh yeah, that's a waste of time. I mean, trust me on that. That's a waste of time. I've been there and I've done that. Go for it. That's really what you want to do. But that's a waste of time. So that's the beauty of that. And also having elders, if you have questions about doctrine or theology or biblical interpretation, especially doubt about your faith, these are the first people you want to come to. And like Adrian and Bobby, I know for sure, are some of the most patient. They'll sit down with you, they'll pray with you, search scriptures with you, and everything else like that. And counseling or marital type stuff, that's what we love to do. So pray for us in that for sure. So let's review, and then we'll call it a day. What's this word?
Talmid.
Talmid. What's this word?
Besorah.
Besorah, which means what? The glad tidings or good news or gospel.
Shema.
Shema. Shema, which means to hear and then do. Hear and then do. Derech, which means way, path. Ha-derech. Ha-derech. Notzri, which means the watchman or the little shoots, the guardians. Notzrim, right? That's the plural form of that last word. Ha-notzrim, the notzrim, or the Christians, right? What is the top word? Ze. Yes, we have a zayin, kuf, final noon, ze, kin, zekin, and that means a beard, but it means an elder, right? Zekin. What's this word? Shemesh, or shamash. It's the same word used for the sun. Shemesh is the sun, because the sun serves us. We don't worship the sun. The sun serves us and provides us things that we need, right? It's a shamash. It's a servant to us. God put it there to serve us. All right. Well, guys, any questions? Did I cover everything okay? Okay. We're going to close in prayer, and then next week we'll meet back up, and the 22nd, we're still on, right? The 22nd, if you want to take a more advanced route with Hebrew, Denise will be taking you guys and beefing up your vocabulary, going into a little bit more of the prefixes and suffixes a little bit more with you guys. So it challenge you just a little bit more than what I'm doing, okay? But that'll be on the 22nd. All right, let's close in prayer. Avinu Malkeinu, our Father and our King. We're so grateful, again, for your Shabbat that you've provided for us, where we can rest, where we can commune with our fellow Notzrim and strengthen each other and build each other up and bear each other's burdens. And just we ask that you would meet with us today, and that you would allow us just to experience a foretaste of your kingdom and a foretaste of what it will be like when our Messiah will rule and reign on earth, a window into that era. We thank you and praise you, and it's in the mighty and beautiful and precious name of Yeshua, the Notzri, Yeshua of Nazareth. We all say, Amen. All right, thank you guys. I think we're going to set up for Shabbat service. What's up?
I don't think they usually go there, so it's really off. I gotta